Hello and welcome back. My name is Adrian, and today we've got our week 2 of the July stained glass kit. And if you are with us last week, we did the little cat here. That was the week 1. And now for the week number 2, we've got this little deer here. And these are the glasses that we are working with for that one. So we are going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you so much for joining us. So without further ado here, we have got our little pattern, and we're going to be using some of this tannish streaky glass, and let's see, probably this white glass here. So between these two, we're going to be making this deer. And hey, Mary, thank you for joining us. Okay, got a lot of animals, all animals in the month of July here. So looking forward to that. So what we're going to want to do here is, so mostly we're going to be doing this, pretty much all of this glass except for a few very select areas. Kind of right here in this sort of neck area, we're going to do the white glass. So we'll go ahead and place that down. Oh, and actually I'm going to keep, I think I'm going to keep these where I traced it on there. And then for these, we are going to place onto the glass here. Okay. And a few of these we're actually going to end up covering in copper foil. So for those, and we're going to solder them down, make sure that everything is blacked out. So we're going to do that for the, so I'm going to do those in the white glass. So we're going to do that for the nose, the eyeball, the little hoof, and then we're going to try to selectively cut this tannish glass to kind of effectively use it here. So these, the ones that I am planning to have in full black, I think I'm actually going to go ahead and also trace them in black, or at least put a black dot in them so I know. And let's see, so for these, I'm going to put some directions on here because I want for them to be pretty much following that. So we do have some direction here in this glass. Now what I plan to do here is in the ear areas, I want to use the lighter areas, and we are going to use, like on the top of the head, I want a darker area, the bottom of the head, a lighter area. It's just going to give us a little bit of some nice contrasting colors here. And if we do it strategically, it'll come out really nicely. So you're going to have to kind of look at your glass and pick which areas are going to be the most advantageous for it. And you do want to try to, you know, use it as efficiently as you can. We are going to want to try to get these effects though, if we can. And all the sheets vary quite a bit. But either way, I think it's going to look really good. And Mary mentioned that it's hot and smoky here from the fires. I guess it's, is that common this time of year? I know it's summertime. Might be common from where you're from. Which, that sounds like it would be kind of a health hazard, breathing all that smoke in. Try to avoid that if I could. Okay, so we've got all of our pieces placed here, and now we are going to go ahead and start cutting. So let's go ahead and grab our glass cutter, and I like to use the pencil grip. And so we are going to go through, and I'm going to go ahead and separate this first, and then I'm going to go ahead and separate that one next. And from North 'Gotcha. Sorry about that. Okay. So when I score it, sometimes I will tap it from the bottom, trying to run that score through. And then if you hold both pieces at the same time, you can kind of separate them that way. And we're going to go ahead and switch over to our free camera. Let me go ahead and set this aside. Okay. So, oh, you know what? I almost forgot a couple things. Number one, we do have a new shirt here, shirt design. So that's available. And I am going to also go ahead and get on my apron here. Try not to damage my new shirt. And then we will continue on. So what I like to do, I'm actually going to go ahead and separate this clear glass. I'm sorry, the white glass, not clear glass. Get that out of my way. There we go. Go ahead and put this way over there. Get this tannish glass out of our way. And you know what? I don't know why I made this mistake. We have a black glass, so I don't need to use the white glass for that. I don't know why I kind of forgot that. So the 3 pieces here that I was planning to use, cover and solder, and then put the, black solder on it. We have a black glass here. I'm not sure why that slipped my mind. So we're going to use that for the black part, of course. The nose, hoofs, and the eyeball. There we go. I don't know how I forgot that. All right. So we can set that aside now. And so now we're going to go ahead and do all of our scoring here. Okay. And then after we get this, now actually what we're probably going to do is score and separate all of our glasses, and then we're going to do another round of scoring. And I'm actually going to move this microphone a little bit. There we go. And then we can make sure we don't break into all of its neighboring pieces here. All right, this one will work. So I like to use different types of grosures, and of course the table brush. There we go. And actually I'm going to go ahead and just separate these. We can go back and do all that scoring here. Since I've got a couple pieces here, I'm going to go ahead and use one of the scores that I would do anyway. Same thing here on this bigger rounded piece. And pop that off, and then I'll separate these two. And if the glass cutting is a little bit difficult for you, just take your time, and you might want to get some scrap glass, or sometimes you can get free glass on Facebook Marketplace or different places like that, and you can kind of practice their glass cutting that way. So I know for a fact I see like free mirrors on Facebook Marketplace all the time. Now mirrors, they are glass, they will cut, they are much thicker normally than typical stained glass. So if you can cut mirror, you can definitely cut stained glass. Because the mirror, it's a lot a lot thicker. And right here we actually had a glass broke not quite perfectly. So I'm going to have to replace this piece. I think, let's see where we can get it. Might have to switch some pieces around a little bit, because I want to save some of this gloss if I can. In this area we were doing it light, so that will work. See if I can get this in here. Got it. Kind of barely got it, but I did get it. And then we can switch this one over here to this side. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and separate these two. Hey Bobby, thanks for joining us. Right on. Glad you're able to get through with this pattern with us today. It is a fun one. We're using the tannish streaky glass, tannish brownish streaky glass, black glass, and white glass. So those three colors for this project today. And now we've got all of our pieces separated from each other. We can go ahead and do all the scoring and then all the breaking. So a lot of scoring next up here. So these curves, you just kind of rotate your elbow as you go through, and that'll give you that nice gentle curve that you're looking for. Now we have an inside radius on this piece. I'm going to go ahead and score that, and then I'm going to go ahead and add another kind of shallower radius, and that'll make it a little bit easier when it comes time to break through all this glass. So we'll set that aside for now. This is an outside radius piece, so these are kind of the easiest pieces to do, for curved pieces anyway. Of course, a perfectly straight piece will probably be a little bit easier, but these, it's kind of hard to break them. Now this is probably going to be the hardest piece of the whole project. I think it's somewhere like inside the body, in the torso area. So we have this inside radius. I want to do one cut, two cuts. I'm going to do a third one. I'm even going to do a fourth one a little bit closer to our finished score line. Just like that. And let's see if you can kind of see right here. See how I did a bunch of those scores right here on this inside radius? And you'll see why when we get to breaking it. Now this is a pretty gradual one, but I'm going to go ahead and do at least a few right here also. It's only going to help us. And I really like these patterns. You can just really use them as a nice little template. Of course, all these patterns are available for free in our Stained Glass Mastery community. And we also sell the vinyl patterns. So if you're interested in that, you are welcome to purchase those. And of course, everything that you see in this video, we sell all the tools and everything else required. So if you're in need of some stained glass supplies, beginner kits, check all of that out in the description. I'll leave a link to the Stained Glass Mastery community where we have tool lists, tutorials, resources, and a great community of other artists to interact with, share projects, ask questions, and of course get all of the free stained glass patterns, including this one that we are working on today. And a couple of these pieces are pretty small. They can get a little bit tricky sometimes, but we are going to get through it. And we are trying out our new foiler again today. I used it a little bit yesterday, and it seemed to work pretty good. I'm getting the hang of it a little bit better. So I'm liking it a little bit more. and we'll kind of see how it goes. We've got another inside radius here, pretty deep radius here. So we'll do a few more shallow cuts. I think that'll do it. And we've got 2 more pieces to score here. And this gloss, it really doesn't make that typical scoring sound as much. It's a little bit of a kind of a flatter sound. You can kind of almost barely hear it. At least I can kind of barely hear it right here with it. But it's still, you know, so some gloss makes that kind of scratchy sound, and some does not. Some gloss does not. So this is one of those that kind of just barely makes it. If you're not doing it really kind of a fast score, you're not going to hear it. If you kind of do it pretty fast, you'll hear it. But, you know, when you're trying to do these really intentional sort of cuts here, you kind of have to go kind of slowly. Now this, we're not going to have much leverage, so I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and just try to score it. Kind of a straight line, make this a little bit smaller. I might have to tap that through. There we go, starts to separate. I'm going to just tap that all the way through until we have kind of 2 pieces here. There we go. And then it's kind of a banana shape now, this little piece that we want. I'll just ping off these little tiny stragglers. There we go, our second piece. So we'll set that over here on the grinder in preparation for the grinding today. I'm going to go ahead and cut this down. There we go, we can clean that up on the grinder. So you see how kind of a big mess starts to accumulate whenever you're separating the gloss on that score. So to clean it off every time, it's kind of better just to get it all scored and then go back and start to separate the pieces like this. Now this right here, we have this kind of a deep inside radius here. So you see how I'm just picking away at the shallower cuts that I made, the shallower scores I should say. And that makes it so much easier to just chew this thing out till we get down to the shape that we want. So that's why we do that. It makes it much easier. And if you're not doing that and you keep, you know, breaking through. Oh, look, we actually did break through. I didn't even notice because of the pattern. So we're going to have to recut that one. We might have a piece right here we can use. Let's see. So even doing that, sometimes it'll still break. But you just have to kind of keep giving it a shot and just taking your time with it. I have to cut back into one of these. It's not a big deal. Probably I can put it about. So the direction is kind of this way. So I'm going to put it, trying to get a decent yield right here should be good. I'll do it right here on the edge. There we go. Then I can just kind of get that corner off. There we go. Got our little piece, and now we can go through and rescore this. we're going to get this all knocked down except for that last little bit. Did I cut a few? Yeah, I did cut a few little extra pieces there. So I'm just going to kind of slowly try to nick this thing down until we get right to our little pattern. And you can always clean the rest of that up on the grinder, so I'm going to leave that as is. And we will continue on. Now when these pieces start to get pretty small like this, you kind of need to have a second pair of grosers. And this one I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a shallower cut here, because I don't want to break it. There we go. Perfect. So we've got this tiny little spot here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my other pair of grosers. When it gets to be kind of small like this, it's a real hassle to try to hold it with your hand. So I'm going to hold it with this, and then just ping off these little pieces here and there. And we can clean the rest of that up on the grinder. Now we've got this tiny little piece right here. Do the same thing. And this one's a little bit bigger. I can use just the normal grosers for this part, since I don't have to do any really deep inside radiuses. There we go. There we go. So some of these pieces are a little bit tricky, but just take your time with it. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one down a little bit more. Now this one, it's a little bit too thin for me to grab onto. There we go. So this is where having an extra pair of grosers really helps. So you might as well make one of them the mini groser, so you can fit it in there. See the difference between these two? This one's the mini and this one's the normal. So this one fits inside those inside radiuses a lot easier. Now this one, I'm actually going to go ahead and kind of take that one down a little bit too. And we'll just slowly but surely work our way inside this radius. Since we made so many shallower cuts here. Before you know it, we're right there. So that's a combination of using the mini grosers and the shallower cuts here. Now this is a pretty wide radius, so probably maybe didn't need to do it there, but better to be safe than sorry. All right, put this one on the grinder. So this is one where it's all outside radiuses, really easy to cut on this end. Those are kind of hard to break because if the glass runs, it's just going to run off, not into the piece you want to save. And again, another inside curve. There we go. Okay. Little by little. Now we've got this one is our last piece here. It's a little bit small, so I'm going to again use our extra pair here. And there we go. So the rest of that we can pretty much clean up on the grinder. I'll knock it down a little bit with the Grosers. It's just hard to get them when they're that small. Okay, so now we are ready to move on to our grinding. I'm going to go ahead and sweep all this glass debris out of here. We are bringing out our grinder. So here we are. So we've got all of our pieces right here. I'm going to go ahead and set them down for now. And I've got my water bottle. Shoot some water into our little sponge here. I'm going to go ahead and put this down to kind of block all that debris. We just grind this glass down until it gets to our little pattern. And we have our little 1/4-inch bit on top. I don't think we're going to need it for this project, but it is useful to have. And these vinyls are these pieces are very small, so the vinyl may come dislodged. Just be cognizant of that. You might have to kind of hold it in place. And what I'm going to actually do is knock it down a little bit more. Because we can always float it a little bit, but if it's too big, it's going to be really difficult to make it fit. So if it's a little bit too small, we can float it. If it's a little bit too big, it's going to be a real nightmare. So that one will work good for us right now. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to try this out, dropping them into my little cup of water here. And that way it will not let all that grinder dust kind of solidify on there. So not a whole lot to this one. I'll give you another view from the top side. Yeah, pretty much just pushing that glass into the wheel until you hit that pattern. And if you go a little bit into the pattern, it's okay. You would prefer that than it being too big, the glass. of our more complex shapes. If you kind of butchered it a little bit on the cutting, right now you can clean it all up and no one will even ever know. So even the 1-inch wheel, that's really standard, pretty much will do except for this spot right here. We're going to need it to be a little bit more precise. So for that one, we're going to use the 1/4-inch wheel. Let's see if I can give you a little bit of a better angle here. So just this spot right here. And the rest we can do with the grinder, with the normal wheel. There we go. Now this project, probably not the best beginner project. It does have a kind of some complex shapes. So if you are looking for more of a beginner project, you're going to want to check some of our other videos. I think at this point there's probably maybe 20 or 30 of these like 2-hour-long tutorials. So definitely there are some easier ones in that bunch that you can try out. Or if you want to give this one a shot, you certainly can. Just be patient, take your time, and you can definitely get it. It might just might take you a little bit longer. It is worth it to kind of take your time and get it right, you know, but you don't want to obsess over perfection so much that you don't get anything done either. So sometimes it's best just to get started and make some progress, build up your skills, and before you know it, it'll be a lot easier. A lot of the basics, cutting glass, you know, breaking the glass, grinding, all that stuff. So kind of just starts with those basics. Right here's another spot. In order to get in this little spot right here, we're going to have to use that 1/4-inch bit. And I like to kind of move that wet sponge into that bit so that it doesn't get too dusty. Keeps that surface kind of wet. There we go. And Jenny asked, how loud is the grinder? More or less than a vacuum? I would say probably a little bit less than the vacuum, to be honest. When you're using the glass on it, if you're not, it's definitely quieter than the vacuum. But I definitely would not. I would not vacuum in the middle of the night, and I would not grind in the middle of the night. So I think that you could get away with it for like 20 minutes at a time. And I think too that if you're not doing it in the middle of the night, you should be perfectly fine. Just my kind of 2 cents there on that. You definitely do need, at least me personally, I definitely recommend having a grinder. Is it technically required? No. But from my point of view, it just really makes the process much easier. And I mean, I personally don't do any projects without it. I try not to anyway. Occasionally, if I'm on a job site or something, and I forget my grinder, I have to kind of figure something out. But if I can use the grinder, I'm going to for sure. Sometimes the pieces start to get kind of small, and instead of pushing them, I'll just kind of, well, I will push them. And sometimes, especially if the pieces are too small, you kind of have to take that vinyl off and compare it a little bit. When it gets to be too wet, it starts to not stick very well. But that looks pretty good. I'll probably do the outside a couple more times. Again, a little bit too small is bigger than a little bit too big. I'm sorry, better than a little bit too big. There we go. No problem, Jenny. Alright, be sure to let me know too if you have any other questions here. Got a couple more pieces here. Right here we're going to need that 1/4 inch up top again. Make sure to put some water on there. Hey Mary Beth, thanks for joining us. We are in our grinding here, about to finish that up, and then we're going to start cleaning off all our glass from all that glass dust. Take this off and do a couple of rounds, and then I'll compare it. And today I really didn't wipe the glass down before I put the vinyl on there. If you wipe the glass down, you'll have a little bit of a better time here than I am. It's a little bit, you know, pieces are kind of small and the water's getting up underneath it. But if you have to, you can always kind of just take it off, compare it, and then you can continue on with the grinding like that. For me, normally by the time the vinyl starts to come off a little bit, it's I'm pretty much done grinding anyway. And I just maybe have a few little adjustments to do, if that. So this is looking good too. And that's our last piece to grind. So now, this is a little bit of a different thing that I've been trying today with the cup of water here. So I put the, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to pour some of this water out. Yeah, it's a little bit too full here. I can't get to the pieces. Be right back. Let me go pour a little bit of this water. Okay, now if you are going to do this with the little cup, you barely need to fill it up, looks like. Not even halfway. And all the pieces will pretty much be submerged. And so what we're trying to do here is to keep all that glass dust from drying on the edges. It'll make it just a little bit easier when it comes time to clean them up. And Mary Beth just mentioned that she's got the same one, and she thinks it's very quiet too. So yeah, I think that I think you're going to be all right, Jennifer, if you get one like this. And most of them are pretty much the same audio, or how do you say that? Loudness, I guess. So yeah, I don't think you're going to have a problem, if I'm being honest with you. And I like to use a microfiber cloth to clean these up. So now it's all pretty much dry. And I'm going to go ahead and set this aside next to our foiler. We're going to bring the foiler out here in just a moment. I'm going to actually go ahead and sweep off the area here. I do not want to be plucking myself with some glass if I can avoid it. And I would like to. So there we go. We'll just take them one by one, kind of drying them off so that the foil will stick and making sure there's none of that debris left. So just kind of taking our time here, really making sure to get that done. And I think I'm liking this because it can be kind of difficult once the glass dust dries. And this way it keeps it from drying, and I don't even have to spray it with the blue glass cleaner. I can just take it out of the little cup here and dry it off. And in the process of drying, it's going to take off all the impurities that will hinder the copper foil from sticking. So I'm liking this method quite a lot. I think I'm going to keep a little cup nearby and just drop them in there as I finish grinding. And we're gonna see. We're gonna see if it's gonna work out. It could be maybe a little bit too wet, these pieces, potentially. We'll see if I have a problem with that if I dried them off well enough. And one other thing I think I'm going to want to do is to put all of the pieces on the pattern before we actually foil them, because I don't want a situation like we had last week where I had to remove some of the foil, grind the pieces down a little bit more, and then refoil them to get them to fit properly. So I am going to do a little bit of a test fit before we start foiling. Make sure I don't need to do any extra grinding. And if you want, since we have these free patterns online, you can of course print them out and use that printout as a nice template, or you can trace one of your vinyl patterns and that'll give you a pretty nice template to try to fit all your pieces together. And at least for me, the way I've got these, I didn't do a perfect tracing, but it'll be close enough to where it'll kind of help me arrange the pieces in the right places. So this is kind of the way that I like to make these panels with these patterns. They just help me to get the pieces to fit together really well. I was really surprised last week when we had our first problem with them not fitting together so well, and I think that I just didn't quite grind them down enough. And so a little extra grinding and we got it, but want to avoid those little mishaps if at all possible. Okay. And I don't see any of that glass dust on here. So I think honestly this is working out pretty good. Just so long as I'm able to get them dry enough. I kind of reach my left hand in there, pick it up, and my left hand is a little bit wet still when I go to put it back down on the table. So that might be the only thing I can see maybe being a problem so far. But really nothing to this part. We're just cleaning them up, drying them up, kind of prepping them for the foil. Now the other thing about these tiny pieces, so we are going to be using them with our foiler here. The tiny pieces have a little bit of a hard time with the foiler, so we are going to see how that goes here in just a moment. Normally when they're really small like this, I have to kind of pull out a little bit of foil and hand foil them, which is not a big deal, but just something to keep in mind. Especially these black pieces, they're really tiny for the eye, the hoof, and the, where else did we have it? Oh, the nose. Okay. So all of our pieces are pretty much done cleaning. I'm going to bring out our foiler here. And I did, Mary Beth, let me see if I can show you the new t-shirt. And so this is one of the new shirts for this week, and I've got another one for next week also. So we are going to have a bunch of new shirts. And Bobby mentioned 7-year-old grandson is watching nearby, wanted to name the deer. Says her name is Chocolate. Excellent. I will accept that, and this deer's name will be Chocolate. So I like that. Thank you for including your grandson here in our Sunday stained glass live stream. Might have a new stained glass craftsman coming up. We need them, that's for sure. We are actually trying to find a couple people right now. There we go. tricky. Kind of moved this thing a little bit this weekend, so the foil got a little bit jammed in here. I think we got it pretty much. Okay, that should be all right. Hopefully. Okay. All right. So we are going to give this another shot this week. I used it a little bit yesterday. It worked out pretty well. So you kind of open it up, stick the piece in, centers it, push it in there. And if you have a bigger piece of bigger piece of glass, it's a no-brainer. It works extremely well. I really like it. Now, if you have a smaller piece, that's when you're gonna have to kind of make it work. And we can check the, oh, you know what? I forgot to fit all the pieces. I want to do that before we go too far here. Of course, we still have to burnish everything down, but this is our foil for just a couple seconds of effort there. And let's see how well chocolate's fitting together here. Okay. Oops. There we go. And let's see, where do you go? I think you're in here. Yeah. Let's see, where would you go? Right here. And around this eyeball area is where you're going to really want to pay attention. Yeah, that, it already looks like I probably want to grind that down a little bit more. It might fit pretty good. Let's see. No, I'm going to want to grind that down a little bit more. All right, it's looking pretty good so far. Take a quick look over here. So this piece, we're definitely going to want to grind it down a little bit more. Let's see. It's close. And we will, of course, clean this off with our little microfiber cloth. Make sure we have it the right orientation, make sure it fits good. Okay, a little bit better there. So we're going to accept that like that. All right. So now we want to finish foiling these. And if I feel any wetness, I'm going to take the rag just one more time. Could be that I have a little bit on my hand. Let's see how we do here. actually going to pull this through a little bit more. There we go. Got a little bit twisted up. Got it now. Much better. Okay. Pull this through. We'll go ahead and foil this one. Hey, Deborah just mentioned that she is just starting. Lessons are helpful. Awesome. Glad that you are finding them useful. All right. Got our next piece. And after we finish foiling, then we have to go through and do the burnishing. All right. So we'll kind of put hand pressure on the edges and the faces here. Now, I always pretty much grind all my pieces down, so you don't have to worry as much about, or I don't have to worry as much about, you know, a sharp glass edge. But if you're not grinding your pieces down, then you do need to kind of worry about that so you don't cut yourself when you're pressing that foil into the edge. Because, you know, if your glass edge is sharp, it will just tear right through that foil and right into your fleshy fingers. So you want to avoid that, of course. So just kind of another benefit of just grinding all the glass down. Okay. can see we have a little bit of a split on this corner. I'll show you on the close camera. See, we have a little bit of a split here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick repair. So I'm actually going to go ahead and burnish this down in this spot first, because you want to kind of do that before. And then I'm just going to pull out a little piece here. And then I'm going to cut it with the X-Acto blade to have a nice smooth transition. So here's what this looks like. I'm actually going to go ahead and make sure we burnish this thing down nicely. Then we'll kind of cut a nice smooth transition here. Peel that excess up. Do the same thing over here. And it's like it never even happened. Okay. Now this piece, let me switch this back over. Now this piece is really tiny, so I'm not going to try to push it through the foiler. I'm just going to use it as a dispenser. And it works pretty good for that. There we go. Snip that down. Now this one is going to be patinaed black. And this is a little black piece of glass, so we're going to really try to, it's not going to really be super visible, all the solder work on here, but we want it to still look good. So like right here where it's got that big piece sticking out, we're still going to want to trim that down. So that was where the start-stop overlap took place. It wasn't quite right, so just trim that down and now it looks a lot better. Now this piece I would say is small enough to, big enough to foil here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Here we go. Oops, left it on the closed camera. Sorry about that. This one's big enough to foil here too. Oops, a little bit of tension there. All right. Kind of take a quick peek over here. Oops. Everything's looking pretty good. All right. one of these little ears. This part is for the torso area. I just folding this over, fold that over, and then we've got a good foundation for the burnishing. This is a tiny piece, so we're going to just hand foil this one. Use this as a dispenser. We'll kind of pull some out. The little nose piece. Mary Beth asked, when I cut glass and it makes a sideways sliver, how do you handle that? So honestly, I just grind it down because it's going to cut you. Or you can grozier it down at a minimum, so you can kind of get that sharp edge out of the way. And right here, sometimes you'll see it splits on these inside curves. I'll show you on the close camera over here. See how it kind of split right here a little bit, so we're going to want to repair that. Before we do, we're going to want to burnish this spot down. And sometimes it only splits on one side. This side has a tiny little split too. So we'll just do it right over the top. So I'm just going to pull out a little piece for a repair. Fold it over. And then we'll trim it down with the X-Acto blade. So I've got this piece kind of folded over here. Go ahead and burnish that one down too. Looks like we missed our piece a little bit. Go ahead and put it down. What little extra we've got right here. Just barely missed it right there. So we'll just burnish this down. And we'll trim that down too. And let's see. Get this all peeled up. There we go. Switch on back over here. We got a couple more pieces to do. One of which is this little eyepiece, so we're going to do that one by hand. a little bit more right there. We'll trim that down. And Mary Beth asked, the concave of the glass is hard to foil. It is. You know, it just has those little splits every now and then. And it's not a, you know, too big of a deal. You just have to put a little repair on there. But yeah, they do kind of have that tend to have a little tear right where it kind of gets a little bit too thin, depending on how, you know, sharp that radius is. So this one will cut this thing, have a nice smooth transition like we do. It's a little bit small, this piece. Try to secure it. There we go. Okay. And we've got 2 more pieces to foil here. Again, these bigger pieces are really easy in here. Got another one of these concave curves in here. Got a little split again. Actually, this one we got 2 splits. Probably going to go ahead and burnish that down, and then we'll take care of the repairs at the time of burnishing. Just pushing this one through. I'll go ahead and pull it out for the start point. A little further if we can. That should do. All right. So this we are going to probably need for some little repairs here, but we can go ahead and start the burnishing. Get all this backing out of our way. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of slide these off. As we finish them, we'll put them on our pattern, and then it will be time to solder. So as always, I like to start burnishing on the perimeter. And this little purple fid, it actually comes with the foiler here. So pretty nice little fid too. I've been pretty, you know, the first day I was kind of not too sure about this little device here. And as I've used it a little bit more, I got a little bit of use in yesterday on Saturday, and now a little bit more today. I think this will be my 4th time using it. And I think I've pretty much got it now. I think those first few days was a little bit a learning curve, and now I'm feeling a lot better about it. So sort of moving into the side of recommending it a little bit more, especially for bigger pieces. For smaller pieces, it's really not feasible. Most foilers kind of struggle with that. I do believe that our old one worked okay, and I think I might modify this one slightly so that it might work a little bit better with the small pieces. I was kind of thinking about that yesterday. Might work on that a little bit more just to see what happens. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with it so far. All right. And the reason why we burnish down all of the edges first is because we want to make sure we don't trap any air or anything that could cause it to fail. We want to sort of push it out from the middle outward. If you've ever kind of stuck a sticker or a bumper sticker or something, and you see the, you see the bubbles in the middle, we want to avoid that when we're doing our foil here. And Mary mentioned that she loves this FID. It's called the Fiddle Stick. It's a Creator's Fiddle Stick. And yeah, it works pretty good. I think it's probably my favorite FID. It works really good, to be honest with you. It's got a nice sharp corner in case I need to get into some texture. It's got a nice rounded edge for all these flat areas. It's pretty ergonomic and common feeling, like a pencil. Feels like a pencil. So we all spent a lot of time training with pencils over the years, I'm sure, in our lives. And so this kind of has a familiar feel as far as that. So that's nice. A little hoof. How do you go? I think you go like that. There we go. So whenever we're burnishing, we want to kind of burnish in towards the middle, just subtly to the middle. Doesn't have to be like literally straight to the middle, but just subtly kind of towards the middle, not towards the going middle out. That will keep the foil from getting knocked off, which is what you want, of course. You want to keep it in place. There we go. Oh, and Mary mentioned you can make jumpers with it too. Yeah, I guess if you kind of curl it around it, you can use that as a little template. And yeah, I mean they're pretty nice. Pretty nice little tool here. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of it in our next projects. Speaking of our next projects, this is our second week of July. Of course, we have the little deer here, Chocolate, as Bobby's grandson named it. And we are also going to be doing an otter and an orca this month of July. So looking forward to that. And I was thinking to myself, wait a second, we have an orca and an otter this month. We have to have black glass. Like, I'm not going to be using this. I'm not just going to be covering a piece of glass in solder, but I know we have black glass. lo and behold, it was in this month's kit. So that's what reminded me that, yeah, obviously we have black glass this month. Come on now. But nevertheless, we are making good progress today. Got the little nose piece. And this is pretty much our last step before we start to solder. Now this part where the eye is, there's kind of a few interlocking pieces here. So I did grind that eye down, tried to really make sure it's going to fit nicely. But we really aren't going to know until we actually get this stuff down. See if I have to take off that foil and refoil it. Pretty sure I'm not going to have to since I already checked it, but it is one of those things you just kind of don't know until it is all in place. All the pieces are in place. Oops, kind of rotated that one. There we go. For what it looks like everything's fitting pretty good. We'll do another quick check before we actually start soldering it. We'll do a check on the free camera here. Let's see, I think that looks pretty good. Let me see what it looks like the other direction. I think that looks a little bit better. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how this piece fits. Got two last pieces here to burnish. And then it is soldering time. I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn on the iron because I'm feeling pretty good about it. Don't want to jinx myself, but I'm feeling pretty good about it so far. All right, got our headpiece on. We've got one more piece here. Then we're gonna really get it all fit together, see how we're looking. All right, our last piece. How do we go? I think you go like that. There we go. So now, let me go ahead and get everything all placed where I want it, more or less, as much as I can. All right. See how we're looking right here. Everything looks to have fit pretty well. So I am pleased with that so far. We're going to go ahead and get to the soldering. I'm going to go ahead and put some blue gloves on. Try to keep some chemicals off my hands if I can. Go ahead and get my fume extractor out. Let's turn that on. You stay put. There we go. Right, exactly where we want it. Okay. And now, go ahead and get our flux out. Now, we're just going to kind of tap this down. Everything is loose right now. We're just tapping down in the joints areas. Anything we move, we're going to have to kind of put it back. Now we're going to be using lead-free solder today. And I've got a little bit left. Hopefully I'll have enough for this project. If not, we'll have to substitute in some 60-40. Not the end of the world. Now let's take a look at this. This is what our iron tip looks like right now. Probably I'm going to want to clean that up a little bit. See if I have my wire brush somewhere. Oh, there it is. I like to just take the brush and just brush all that old debris off. And we're ready. Let's see what kind of heat we're working with right now. We're getting there. I'm going to go ahead and we're just tacking the joints. Just tiny little bit to get this thing all married together. Alright, we can get this off our little pattern here. And now it's all holding together pretty well, see that? So we can go ahead and flux up the entire thing. And we're just doing an initial bead here for now. And we'll turn it over, do the beauty bead on the back side, and then we'll finish off on this front side. This is the viewing side. So right now we're just trying to get this thing for strength, and then the beauty will come later. Okay, now this is okay for the front side. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over and do a little bit of a nicer soldering on the back side. Again, we're going to flux everything up here. Just like that. Now on this side we want to do it a little bit nicer and heavier. We're going to take our time a little bit more. We're going to have to do some tapping along. We want to make sure to get enough on here. going to try to get this as rounded as we can. We don't want it to look flat and sunken in. And with the lead free, you kind of have to tap it along, trying to keep that wet edge as much as you can. Make sure all the perimeter is tinned. And then we can go ahead and, I think we're going to go ahead and edge bead now, so I'm going to get my heat resistant glove on. And let's see, maybe before we start, well, yeah, let's go ahead and edge bead, and then we'll do the hook. Go ahead and put a little bit of flux all the way around the perimeter. There we go. And I'm gonna want to set the solder up to where it will easily feed into the iron. We're coming up to our last little bit of our roll here. We get another roll this week. So the heat resistant gloves, you really kind of need them to be able to hold this thing, because it's pretty hot. Even through the gloves, it's a little bit warm, but it'll still be okay. I kind of just like to grab a little bit with the iron tip and then tap it along, rotating the piece as you go. Right. I used to try to do this without the gloves. It was a real silliness hassle. So, don't do that if I was you. Okay. So we've got the edge beaded. We want to go ahead and clean this up on this side. And then to finish off, we're going to go ahead and put our little hook. So we're going to kind of go through, just bubbling up a little bit. I just let that cool down. It might be too hot right now. But we have to go through all these bubbles, get all those bubbles out of there. It's flat, you got to add a little bit more until it's nice and rounded. If it keeps bubbling up, you just kind of have to keep working it. will be doing a black patina on the little deer today. We use the black backing. This gloss is all pretty much opaque, so the backing is not as relevant here, the backing finish. But I think it's going to look better if we have it with the patina finish. Which is honestly what I do most of the projects at. Only other finish I'll normally do is just a bare silver finish. All right, so now we need to get our little hook onto there, and so we'll pull out a little bit. Make a little hook. We need to decide where we're going to put it. Put this iron aside for the moment. Decide where we're going to want to put it. Probably about right here on this joint. So we'll spin this a couple times. Make it look like a braided cable. Snip that off. We're going to put it on the back side. We're going to want it about right there. Pretty much just exactly like that. I'm going to snip off just a little bit more. Just like that, it's exactly what we want. So, what I'm going to do is actually hold it with this because it's going to be way too hot. And I'm just going to try to submerge it, probably flex it up a little bit, and then just try to submerge it into that existing solder. Let's see how this goes. Lift straight up. There we go. And so it's pretty much in there. I'm just going to, let's see if I heat it up just a little bit more. Okay, and then we're just gonna put a little bit more solder on there, kind of smooth that out. Oops. That's what we want. Let that dry. We're just going to put a little bit more on there. Just trying to really kind of smooth it out into the rest of the piece like that. And we're pretty much done soldering now. So I'm going to turn off my iron. Make sure not to forget that, of course. I'm going to kind of get some stuff out of my way here. And now we are going to go ahead and do some patina. Like I said, we are going to do the black patina. So Novacam black here. And you can kind of put it on pretty heavy. I'm going to get this heat-resistant glove off. Just about out of the stuff. In this bottle, I've got another brand new bottle. So you can see it really darkens up all that patina nicely. I'm sorry, all that lead. That's sorry, it's actually solder. Darkens up all that solder very nicely. And before you know it, we're just about all out in this little bottle. I've got a brand new big bottle ready to go. Got this new big bottle. See, difference in the size. Yeah, this one will last a lot longer. And I normally just grab a rag, old Cavallini shirt, and you can just really saturate that rag, kind of just wipe it on. And I normally will do kind of a few coats here and there, trying to really get it to have a nice, even dark coat here. All looks good, looks nice and even. And then, after this is looking pretty good, it's kind of sat for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, and we're pretty much done for today. So I do hope that everyone enjoyed today's live stream of the deer. And please check out the Stained Glass Mastery community if you haven't already. I know many of the people that are here today have, and I do appreciate all of you guys joining that community and joining us every single week for the weekly projects here. And so again, thank you all so much for joining. Today's project was the week 2 of the July kit of the little deer here. We had one of the people joining today, Bobby, grandson, named it Chocolate. So thank you so much for that, and I appreciate everyone for watching. Till next time, have a great rest of your day. Bye.